The Thriller Zone with Dave Temple is being sponsored by Gary Quessenberry and his new Case Younger thriller, Dead to Rights. Learn more at GaryQuessenberry.com. Hello and welcome to The Thriller Zone. I'm your host, Dave Temple. It is so good to have you here. Welcome to, what is it, the middle of summer already? Can you believe it, the middle of summer? And by the time this show drops, it'll be the first Wednesday in August. So happy August to you and yours. I hope it's a very pleasant summer for you. Here in San Diego, it's quite stunning in August. I remember back home in Carolina, hot and sticky and humid, the kudzu and the crickets and the cicadas. Whew, entirely different world. Anyway, welcome to summer. I will be doing a little summer vacationing here in the next few weeks, so you may not be getting a show every single week as per usual, but I'm sure you understand that and will plan accordingly, and I thank you for your support. On today's show is one of my favorite guys. He's become a favorite guy because he's such a great conversationalist. I just so enjoy talking to him, and as you'll see inside the show, we start talking. We don't even get to the book until, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes in. And you know, honestly, I like it that way. I do. I just like shooting the breeze because that to me is real entertainment. I really get to know the authors, and that's key to me. But I will tell you straight up, Kyle Mills has a new book called Fade In. I told him on the show, and I think you'll hear this. It could be, in my opinion, no, it is, in my opinion, his best book yet. Did I like the Vince Flynn books? Sure. He did great with Mitch Rapp. But this one, this protagonist, I totally dig. And we had so much fun. Now, as you'll notice, the shows have gone for, a little over an hour, hour and a half, to down to about 30 minutes for a lot of different reasons. I got stuff to do. You got stuff to do. People aren't, I started noticing people would drop off after a certain amount of time. So I just said, 30 minutes does it. We went on for, 40, 45 minutes. So hang in there. We hung up the show and we kept talking for another hour, almost an hour and a half, because we just had so much to talk about. And so many good inside secrets to publishing. I wish I could share it with you. But all those, usually, what do we call it? Overtime? Often get requested to me to, let's not put that on. It's a shame because it's really good stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I can because it's my show. Welcome to the Thriller Zone. As I said, Dave Temple, Kyle Mills today, and Fade In. You're going to dig it. So let me shut up and let's get to it. Kyle, you ready?
Hey.
Kyle, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Let me change my volume here. How are things going?
Things are going smashingly.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, not bad. The run up to publication, it's always a little hectic. It's always something. Today, I have this kind of place that I do these set up, and the painters to paint the house showed up and started pressure washing the front of the house. So it's always something this time of year.
Well, not to try to one up you, but just before you came on, literally 4 minutes ago, my dog, who is suffering from pneumonia, goes into a hacking cough while my wife is on a Zoom call with 7 other people, and she's doing this to the camera, but going, "Come here, take care of it." Right when someone knocks at the door who's coming over for a meeting because Tammy's call is going late and she showed up early and dog is coughing. I'm like, I got Kyle.
Oh my God. Honestly, I'm pretty open today. So if you want to push off or take care of the dog, I'm fine to come back.
No, that bitch is on her own. Last time we spoke, you were in a room. You were in a different room. There was a palm tree next to you. You were in Spain.
No, I don't know. I might have been just out where they're pressure washing the front of my house.
Oh,
I'm stuffed in a corner of my bedroom now.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, you were inside. It was not a palm tree. You were inside. It was a nondescript room. There was a palmish tree up against the wall.
Well, that probably was Spain. because
Okay.
I probably just moved in. We had probably just moved into our flat, and we had like two pieces of furniture.
Yeah, I remember there was it looked like yeah, nothing
Yeah,
happened. So where are you now?
I'm in Wyoming.
Okay, gotcha. That's
Yeah,
right. You're one of those I would say bi-coastal, but you're by country.
by country. Yeah,
By country.
1 year there, 1 year here. We're moving back on the 19th.
Dude, you're living one of my dreams for crying out loud.
Yeah,
Well, maybe two of them. I mean, you're living in two countries, and I got a point about that. And you're writing books, so you're like you're slamming it and jamming it, and you're a world traveler. I mean, I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
well, it's it's great. I mean, it is definitely great, though. I will say it. Sometimes the fantasy is a little better than the
Yeah.
reality. But yeah, I mean, we've had 7 floods in our flat in Spain so far, and we're just at the point where we're just like, we'll just see what we find when we get back.
Wow. But you are loving Spain, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a great move. It's really fun and challenging and exciting, and
Yeah.
sometimes hair pulling, because but it's interesting because you get an opportunity to find out what it's like to be an immigrant. So, which is an interesting perspective.
Yes. And if we can take just 30 more seconds on this, I want to talk about one thing. I have been watching, my wife and I are getting ready to take off for a nice long trip out into Europe. And
Nice.
thank you. We were talking about how crazy the world is and how we see all these people exiting stage left because of the current regime. We'll try to dance around some of this. And so he said, if we were going to have a second residence or a primary yet in another country, where would it be? And we're like, well, we've always dreamed of Italy, but then I hear nothing but fabulousness about Spain. I mean, like every time I turn around and I'm like, and then I know I'm talking to you and I'm like, honey, I'm going to ask him. What's it like in Spain? What's the cost of living like and all? And do you have to, you got to learn the language and are you treated like an immigrant and how does your money work? And
It's dirt cheap to live there.
God,
We rent our house in Jackson. That's plenty to live large and have money left over at the end of every month. Now we did buy a flat, renovate it. That was expensive. And that's, I'm not counting,
right.
like if I'd had a mortgage on that or something.
Sure.
The Spanish are lovely.
Yeah.
The food ain't as good as Italy by a long shot. And there is an anti-foreigner movement there for sure. I think it's targeted more at tourists than I've never experienced it. Learning the language is an absolute bitch. Like people don't tell you that. It's language is sort of like weight loss where people say, oh, well, if you sign up for this, well, you'll lose 100 pounds in the next 3 weeks without ever any effort. Yeah, right.
Right.
Like more like it's like 10 years or something
Oh, shit.
to really wrap your mind around, like to the point where now we can have like dinner parties with Spaniards.
Right.
And even then, at the end of it, my wife will just go into bed and just flop on the bed and just say, don't talk to me. I'm going to sleep in my clothes. You're just like concentrating so hard. And so, but a lot of people that live there don't ever learn it. It's just that we thought it was important.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like studying languages. So,
Yeah. Well, you're smarter than your average bear.
Yeah, let me tell you, if I master Spanish, it'll be the hardest thing I ever did, for sure.
Harder than writing a page-turning thriller? What?
By 100,000 times. Yeah, it's like writing a thriller in Spanish. What it's like.
Hey, well, look at it this way. At least you're not learning, say, German or Chinese.
Yeah, and the great thing about Spanish is you do have this huge Spanish community in the United States, so you've heard it, you
Right.
see it.
Right.
Like it's not like, oh, I'm just suddenly going to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
But
And
my God, it's hard.
And one more thing on Spanish, if I may, and I'm not fluent, trust me, even living in San Diego, where some people say, well, why aren't you speaking Spanish? I'm like, it's my country. Is that there are a lot of words that are just very similar, and it's kind of easy to pick up.
Yeah. The grammar is really complex. Whereas the English grammar is very, very simple. So,
it's simple to us, but don't say that to people trying to learn it, because
it's pretty simple. I mean, you could learn the English verb system, add an S to he.
Right.
I've just taught you the English verb system. That's 3 years. Like, what are there, like 5 ways you can say a verb in English and maybe 110 in Spanish?
Yeah.
So it's and then you got the masculine and feminine things. You got to remember every word, whether it's masculine or feminine. And at the beginning, I thought that's not that important, but it's like nails on a chalkboard to the Spanish.
Yeah.
So you actually have to get it right. And don't get me started.
Yeah. Don't get me started. Kyle, this is what I love talking about. This is why I love talking to you, because you're so well read, you're so well traveled, and I say this with all due respect, you don't take it all too seriously. That's what I love, man. Right?
Yeah, that'd be depressing. You've got to take it in stride.
Yeah, take it all in stride. Hey, by the way, let's do this. Welcome back to the Thriller Zone. There's your official open. Insert Dave, I love you right here.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I love you.
Okay, thank you. By the way, fade in. I'm gonna. An old girlfriend of mine used to say when I was trying to get something, she goes, "I'm not giving all my candy in the lobby." So I'm going to give you all the candy in the lobby. This is your best book yet. I'm going to start with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And sure, I was a big Vince Flynn fan when you filled in that sandbox. Sure. And I've liked your other standalones, but this one, I don't know what it was. This comes out of the gate with a bitch slap and surprises, and it's so timely. I'm like, wow, his finger is right on that friggin' pulse, man.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. After 9 books in the Mitch Rapp series, which was super fun to do, I wanted to kind of move away from, kind of the Islamic terrorism and stuff that's really the focus of that series, and talk a lot about the weird stuff that's happening today. It's not like the old days of, the Soviet Union's the bad guy, or the Islamic terrorists are the bad guys. Now it's coming at us from every direction, and
including inside the house.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all these divisions inside the country, which is massive problems. I mean, it's funny to think how many weird things are going on. Anything from climate change to the internal division of the United States, to this crazy war in Russia, America trying to completely sort of reinvent itself and its place in the world. I mean, it's like Israel, it's everything. It feels like it's like everything all at once. And technology. I mean, forget about that. It's crazy to think that when I started Fade In, AI wasn't really a thing. Like when I first put pen to paper, now here I am on Pub Day, and it's just blown up. So it's like a year and a half.
Dude, if I can insert something here, I have been telling my wife, I'm working on a book, by the way. I'm not going to bore you with I want to show you my notes, Mr. Mills. I'm really I have many words.
Well, I know you're working on it. I've been working on it.
I've been working on it for too long, but I'm really in the thick of it right now, and it is involving AI. But here's my point. I say to my wife every mother freaking day, honey, I know you're getting tired of hearing this, but AI is coming. A few days go by. No, honey, AI is coming in like a tsunami. A few days go by. I'm like, honey, we're going to be drowning in AI very soon. And she's always like this. And this is, I love her more than my next breath, but she's like, AI, shmai, I'm like, okay, honey, every time you download an app on your phone, check and see what they're getting from you. Oh, it's probably, they have it anyway. I need that app. And I'm like, But you're giving this stuff away. Anyway, my
Yeah.
point being.
And it can be analyzed now at the speed of light, which was not possible before.
When AI shifts into agentic AI, and folks, for those at home who are going, Dave, what are you talking about? It is basically the next level, like about 20 stories up. But the way it's processing, oh, Jesus, it's mind-numbing, isn't it, Kyle?
It really is. And there's such a good platform I mean, it's terrible because AI, the possibilities of it to help humanity are endless. But if we know anything about humanity, we'll skip those and go straight to the bad stuff. And I mean, everybody looks at their phone 8 hours a day, and now AI has all that data on you. It knows everything about you, and can use that, sift through all that data, and target things right at you. I mean, it can convince you of anything. And so, you don't know what's real, what's not. I mean, just recently, that video of Obama being arrested got forwarded around, and it was forwarded around by the president. And you kind of like, oh man, I mean, the floodgates could be open now for just deep fakes being, forwarded around by governments. And how do you know what's real anymore? And then the AI can make them specifically to you. So, yeah, I don't know where it's going, but that was kind of the point of writing this book and starting this series. Is it gives me an excuse to explore it.
You and I could literally take an entire hour on just the topic of AI, and I'm not going to do it because we do have your book to talk about, Mr. New York Times bestselling author. And I got a few questions, to make you show that I'm a smart guy. But I got to tell you something. I'm more than fascinated. I'm crawling into addiction territory. I am so consumed with the possibilities. And you made a good point. There is good and there is bad. Well, us as human beings, we're going to go straight to the bad, for crying out loud. It's just going to happen. Oh, wait, if I can use this for good, what if I could use it for bad? And then you're going to do it. Next of all, should we be using it in our creating stories? I say yes. I'm not saying go take Kyle's books and upload them and analyze them and copy a book like that because he's such a huge #1 hit writer. But how about if you had a little bit of help, like asking, hey, are my beats? I made my beats. Do they work well? Is this story timely? How much that is happening in the world today reflects what I'm toying with, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happening now.
Yeah.
But I'm not that interested in it in that realm. I mean, I played with it once, I don't know, it was like a year ago or something. And I think I had put in a rough draft of a chapter and said, rewrite this chapter into a final in the style of Kyle Mills. And it definitely cleaned it up, but it wasn't something I'd have ever written.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of at the point in my career where I do it for the joy of it. I
Sure.
really like writing books. So the idea of having AI do it, and then what would I do all day? So for me, it doesn't work. If I had to, if I was in one of those poor guys that I'd do 5 books a year or something, then it might be a really good aid. But I like sitting there and, crafting sentences and, things like that. So it's kind of my, it's my job, but it's also my entertainment.
Yeah. Well, and you're good at it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. First of all, I broke this up into a couple of things because I want to go back in your background a little bit, and I'm watching the clock. I'm going to try to get you out in about half hour ish. And then I want to get into fade in, of course, but I want to go back a little bit. Growing up as I guess you could be called a bureau kid, right? Your pop was in the FBI, so you grew up in that whole world. Did moving around the country, which I have to assume you did, and probably served you very well as we just started the conversation about, and, absorbing all that inside knowledge. Now, I'm not saying that your dad said, oh, son, Let me tell you what I did today. But did that, and I hope this doesn't feel like Captain Obvious, but did that insider knowledge kind of shape your writing and your worldview?
Yeah, certainly my writing. I mean, just from the very beginning. So I started, as much as I hate dating myself, before the internet. And I wanted to write a book, but I read really widely. I love thrillers, but I read all kinds of stuff. And I had to actually sit down and decide what genre I was going to write in. And now, to be clear, I never in a million years thought this book was going to get published. It's just a project. And so I wasn't setting out to have a career, but get published or anything like that. And I thought, oh, well, I know all these people in the intelligence community and FBI and stuff. And I mean, you couldn't look stuff up on the internet. It didn't exist. So I thought, I kind of out of sheer laziness, I'll write a thriller. And, if I need to know what I don't know, the director of the CIA's office looked like, I can call him. I've known him since I was a little kid.
Wow.
So, that was kind of what set me off on the thriller path. And yeah, like I said, I mean, here I am 25 or something books later, having not started out with that plan whatsoever. And yeah, you get to absorb all that stuff. I was around Spec Ops, CIA, FBI, MI6, those were the friends of the family. So yeah, it was great.
Dude, I'm sure I knew some of this. I don't think I knew it to that degree, but I'm trying to picture young Kyle. Gee, Dad, can I have some more mashed potatoes? Yo, what did you do today, Mr. Black? I'm just trying.
It is those early. It's funny. The early memories are still there. My father would come in from work and he had that. He was the Hoover era with the suit and the big old wingtips.
Oh yeah.
And he'd immediately go in and take his gun off and put it in the drawer, and then dinner would be ready. It was back in the 70s, right? Mom would have dinner on the table, and he would sit down and yaffle it all down, still like in his suit pants and shirt. Super. Remember those shirts, man, starched, and my mom, when she'd iron them, they'd be lined up against the wall. They'd stand against the wall. Cause man, if you were in the FBI, you had to be perfect back then.
God, I remember those days. Niagara. I think it was called Niagara. Because that was back. I would dampen your shirt, then spray the shit out of it, and then put it on that heart. Because I wanted to be able to lean up against the wall. For some reason, that was cool. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm trying to picture that, and that in and of itself is fascinating. But now I want to go forward a little bit. So now you've spent all this time in the Vince Flynn world, which you nailed perfectly. I don't want to spend too much time blowing smoke up your skirt, but what's it like having stepped away from that and being able to just kind of go, you know what? I'm back to just doing what Daddy Kyle wants to do.
It's been really fun. I mean, I really liked writing the Mitch Rapp stuff. So it was a really hard decision to stop. I mean, I felt like I was at a good stopping point for a number of reasons. And I had this character who's got the same deadly skills as Mitch Rapp, but is a very different personality. He's a little gonzo, a little manic depressive. He has a weird sense of humor. He's kind of a little bit of a pop philosopher. And I thought he was the right guy to tell the story because Mitch, I considered I kind of had finished an arc with the Mitch Rapp stuff.
Sure.
I won't bore anybody with it, but I had this very arc where I would start him here when I took over and I would leave him here. And then it was time for another arc.
Sure.
And the question was, do I explore all these things that I'm exploring now in the kind of the modern world through the eyes of Mitch? And I didn't think it was quite right for him because he's the master of his own universe.
Right.
Too powerful. I wanted a guy who could feel like we do every day, who's like dragged along and doesn't understand it. And it's changing too fast. And he's not sure he should be involved and all these doubts and things. So Fade, which is a character I introduced 20 years ago and left alone for 20 years, seemed like the perfect guy to like observe this world and interact with this world and it would be in a really fun and interesting way. So you gotta you've got to match your character to the story to some extent. And he seemed perfect for this.
Yeah. You made me think of a conversation that I had recently with Megan Abbott, which she's just so friggin' delightful. Oh my God, I could talk to her all day long. But we were talking about how funny it is we as writers. I think I used the phrase, Megan, do you ever feel like you're laying on your own couch, laying on your own couch while your other part of yourself is sitting in the chair going, tell me about that. Where do you think that came from? Right? So when I hear when I hear you talk about Fade, I'm like to myself, what's Kyle? What's he working out in his mind as far as Fade is concerned? Because this guy's a little bit of a loose cannon, and which is what I love about him.
Yeah, it's weird because if you write kind of like I do, when I write a character from a character's point of view, I kind of inhabit that character. Yeah. I don't plan what they say. I sort of become that character. And, Fade's a weird guy to spend your day in his head, so Mitch Rapp, at least, he was a straight shooter, like, really kind of hard charging. He knew what he believed in. He knew, and Fade's is all over the place. That guy, he's just chasing every squirrel. So, that's a really fun thing to do because particularly, I've always been fascinated with writing characters that are really different than me.
Yeah.
So, like whatever it is, women, terrorists, in this case, Fade, it's fun to get into other people's heads and see their perspectives.
What does your wife, I have to ask this, and if you don't want to, if it's too private, you can tell me, but what does your wife, when you talk about, I get to like to get in that head and I live in that character, it's kind of like you hear actors, method actors who will get into a character and they'll live in that character while they're shooting the movie. So I wonder how much of that integration of Fade into yourself do you have, and does it stick with you? And on top of that, does your wife go, you're Kyle, babe, you're not Fade, so pump the brakes?
Fade isn't too bad. I wrote a serial killer book once, though, years ago, where I was writing a lot from the point of view of the serial killer. Mm-hmm. And my wife, at the end of it, said, that's your last serial killer book. And it was.
What was that book? I want to read it.
Burn Factor.
Oh, okay. And did you... And we're all right. I could go down that rabbit hole. I won't do it. All right, let's get back to here. All right, without spoiling things for folks who have yet to read Fade In, Fade's takes aim at how we manipulate perception, and we started off the show about this. But did today's media ecosystem influence this plot line, and to what degree? What was about? What is it that was going on that you went, now I'm going to weave this into a story?
It was just like what was right around the corner, and you could see it with AI. I mean, I said it wasn't really a thing, but you could tell it was coming when I started that book. And just the incredible power of the billionaire and elite class and how they're becoming more and more powerful. And, you think about Elon Musk. I think I talk about this a little bit in the book, and I use real world examples of, you can't shoot anything into space without him. You can't talk over satellite without his satellite constellation. His power over the government, and you saw it. It's funny that he ended up in this feud with Donald Trump, which I did not foresee at the beginning of this book, even Elon Musk getting involved with the government. But, him talking about, well, then you can't use my rocket. Get up in my grill. You can't use my rockets anymore, or I'll shut off my satellites or whatever. You think, no, not since like the JP Morgan days have individuals, unelected, wealthy individuals had this kind of power. Zuckerberg or Google that can manipulate everything we see with their algorithms and stuff. So it's something that I saw coming, and it's just one of the major threats. Humanity now is its own threat. That's kind of the weird thing now. It's not famine. It's not, we didn't handle it very well, but we can handle, COVID.
Yeah.
We can feed ourselves. We can stay safe. And the problem is we don't. I think it's almost like we get bored. So you think about, the perfect example of this would be Russia, right? The largest country in the world. And what do they decide? We need more land. And We're going to go in and just get completely bloodied and trash our country, trash their country. Why? I don't know. We were bored. You really can't, you can't even come up with a decent reason. So,
Well, yeah.
those are the kinds of things now that have we moved into our self-destructive phase. And on an existential sense, which I think is an interesting thing that people don't talk about with AI, as that gets better and better, humans have always prided ourselves on being special, right? We're smarter than any other thing. We can do these amazing things. And I think it's going to come out pretty soon that we're not that amazing, that AI can probably do it better. Where does that leave us? What's our purpose? And, it could be breaking into tribes and fighting amongst each other, to find an identity, which is important to humans to have an identity.
Dude,
So that could be something that, really causes us problems that nobody's talking about.
this is so you're so on point. This is it's such I don't want to say scary time, but it is an alarming time. And I could go off on like 5 different tangents. I'll try to stay focused. The real just being, and I say this to my wife, we are getting closer and closer and closer. I mean, I don't mean like, oh, it's going to be like in another 5 or 10 years. No, every day AI is improving. And the deep fake ability, both voice, face, turning photographs into video is mind-boggling. But to your point, and I thought about this the other day, when you see the robots, I'm like, I was talking to Tammy, I'm like, think about this. Let's use Amazon as a case. Why wouldn't you want it full of robots that don't complain, don't break down, don't take potty breaks, work 24/7? All you got to do is make sure the batteries are charged and they're with precision and so forth. I mean, it's not going to take us long to get there, right?
No. And it's really is worrying because even if you create this utopian scenario, which a lot of people have, that they say, well, let's say all those robots have their own economy. It's
Right.
great. And they pay us to sit around, like, right. And you could see that happening, right?
Yeah.
Amazon still makes a bunch of money. The robots pay us. And then they say, well, then people will be able to read the classics and do all these creative things and all this. No, they're not. They're going to find a way to fight we're going to find a way to fight amongst ourselves, right? We're going to break into religious groups and racial groups and political groups and everything in a desperate attempt to find some purpose. Now that we don't go to the factory all day and build our widgets for the world, right? We all feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that. I think about retirement and it scares me because I'm like, well, what do I do all day? Like, I want to wander around in my slippers. And so, now you have the whole world running around their slippers, particularly young men who have access to a lot of weapons. Like that's just not a good formula. You want them tired at the end of the day.
Yes. Between weapons and money and power. Oh, again, go down a rabbit hole. I'm not going to do it. All right. One thing I particularly found fascinating about the Fade In, how it tackles themes of a couple of different things. Power brokers operate in the shadows. Question of whether fate is saving humanity or helping to enslave it. Kind of like we're dabbling in the AI conversation. How much do you think of that current global politics influenced shadowy organizations that recruits Fade? Because that's one thing I dug about this. So Fade's like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing. No, we want you to come back in. Come on back in. Because if you do, we got a little favor to ask, but you're going to do this thing. So like, how does that all come together?
Yeah. So John Lowe is the character here, who's this billionaire. He's extraordinarily powerful. And he's essentially trying to create a situation, a system in which he gathers all these very powerful billionaires and some politicians together and says, what we're doing is really not that productive. If you're worth $200 billion, what's another $1 billion to you? It's nothing. Should we maybe try to think about on a larger scale what the good of society, what the dangers are here? Because politicians have become power hungry and useless to a large extent. They don't want to solve problems. They're better off creating them and, using them to hype up their base. So that is the idea. And he's not a Boy Scout. He understands that there's a dark side of humanity, and that's why he needs a few people like Fade who have certain skill set that, problem solving methods that wouldn't normally be available to billionaires, but he understands that that's a necessary component. Two, he jokes around, rule the world, but in a way he kind of wants to do that. And an example of this that they talk about in the book, not to be a spoiler, but to just kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about, on one scale is simply there's a guy that has cracked driverless cars. Like he's got a system, it's going to work perfectly, and in a few years they'll take over everything. Nobody will be driving anymore.
Right.
The problem with that is the number one job for male Americans is driving in some capacity, whether it's trucks or cabs or whatever, tractors. And so they say, well, that's going to put over the course of the next 3 years, absolutely enormous amounts of young men, as we were just talking about, out of work.
Yeah.
That is a really bad idea. What's the benefit to this? And so they say, we're going to put the brakes on that and just make it a safety feature, but you'll still have the illusion that you're driving. If you're going to drive into a wall, it'll stop you, or a bunch of over a little league team, but otherwise you won't, it's not going to work that way. Right. And so that's one of the things they do, that they see these technologies potentially becoming really destructive to society, even though maybe they're the best intentions. So it's, but they can act on a global level in a way that really before only the United States could. So, and particularly as the United States pulls back from its global role that it's had for, since World War II, they see that as a power vacuum that absolutely needs to be filled. Otherwise, you're going to end up with chaos.
Let's take a short break, and we'll be back with more Kyle Mills in just a moment. Hey folks, Dave Temple here with my good buddy Gary Quessenberry. He's got a new Case Younger book following up to Homecoming. It's called Dead to Rights. What is Case up to now, Gary?
After he finally leaves his violent past behind, Case Younger is settled into the life that he feels like he's always been meant to live with his girlfriend Sam in his hometown of Pikesville, Virginia. But there's a handsome stranger that's come to town, and J.C. Wilkes has other plans for Case. He's hoping for peace, but he's going to have to prepare for war.
Well, folks, I am very proud to be a part of the book in that I have a blurb on the cover, but most importantly, Gary, I want to award you, I wish I had an official banner, award you the best opening chapter of a book I think I have read this year, 2025. It is a knockout.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's always my goal, is to grab the reader's attention on the first page and then just hold them by the neck until they get to the end of it.
Mission accomplished. Folks, learn more. Go to GaryQuessenberry.com. Where are the books available as of right now?
Right now, the books are out and available everywhere books are sold. And you can find all the information you need on my website, GaryQuessenberry.com. That's kind of the hub for everything.
That's GaryQuessenberry.com. God, that's the other thing about this book. It is so today. I mean, it's like you have to read this book today, and by the end of next week, you'll go, that book was great, but that is so yesterday, because look what's happening now.
Hopefully they'll say, yeah, all that happened, and now it's worse.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to read my next book.
Yeah. Well, and that's the perfect tee up for me. Looking ahead, do you see Fade, especially in this particular case, do you see this as a one-off or maybe a beginning of a new series?
No, definitely the beginning of a new series. I've actually finished the first draft of the next Fade book. So this is just somebody, like I said, that's just a great set of eyes to see how the world is so quickly evolving and where it could fall apart. And there are so many places. It used to be the Soviet Union. How could it fall apart? One way: the Soviets shoot a bunch of nukes at us.
Right.
And that was pretty much your only choice.
Right.
Now it can come at you from any direction, and in directions that now, like you were saying, next year, things could be happening next year that we couldn't even imagine were going to happen sitting right here today.
Dude, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I was watching a conference on AI yesterday, and this guy comes out with this drone. Let me see if I can find the drone. Was literally the size of this little book in my hand. It was that small. And he's getting ready to talk to the audience, and he goes, "Hey, watch this." And there's a dummy at the end of the stage, just a mannequin, not an idiot. And he's standing, and he goes, "Watch this." And he takes the drone, throws that in the audience, and he goes, comes up, target accuracy, puts a bullet through the guy's head and flies away.
Yep. And that's going to completely change warfare and the way that countries, fight with each other. I mean, these swarm technologies and AI and stuff, it's just completely going to change everything.
So, to that point, it was no bigger than this, and it put a bullet. He goes, that's nothing. He goes, you can put a payload of, we'll call it C4, and have this thing fly, whisper quiet, miles away, drops a bomb. We kind of learned this in Ukraine, etc., right? But that technology, when it's that drone technology, and then on top of that, and then with this, I'll stop. Then I saw something out of China where they had hundreds, thousands of these perfectly lined up, and they all flew up like a massive cloud, but in perfect uniform fashion, and went off and did their thing and then came back in perfect fashion and landed. I was like, that's when I went, oh, this shit's about to get real.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wrote a book years ago called The Patriot Attack, and it was about a military conflict between Japan and China. And the Japanese had built this massive military capability, but their motto was like small, autonomous, and cheap. And that's what they did. And it was just lots of crappy things that swarmed and stuff like that. And now we're moving in that direction. And, there's huge dangers to that too. And I think about China and Taiwan now, that very much because of exactly that technology you're talking about and similar ones, China's window to invade Taiwan is closing.
Oh, yeah.
With these technologies, in a few years, it will simply not be doable. You'd lose millions of people and you'd never get a foot on the, on land and survive. No. And so it worries. You think, you see what Russia's done, everything, you think, God, could they get completely irrational and say, if we don't do this now, 5 years, they also have an aging population and all this stuff. 5 years is just not going to be a deal. They're going to have thousands of drones all over this island underwater and everything. So, I mean, you're creating this thing where the world is changing so quickly. Some people must be thinking about, if we don't set the world order now, we're not going to be able to in a few years. It's just going to, it's going to set itself.
Remember the old days when you thought, oh, that country over there is going to send this great, big, massive missile. You'll see it coming hundreds of miles away. Watch out. Oh, we got plenty of time because we see it coming. Those days are gone. You're not going to see it coming. That's the thing. You're not going to see any of this shit coming.
And it's weird because it's just, this is going back again to what I'm talking about, that people going a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because their needs are met and they have nothing else to worry about. But this idea of war in the modern era is unprofitable. Think about the good old days, right? You're Roman, go in there, kill everybody, take all their stuff. That's right. A profitable war model. Sure. You shouldn't do it, but you can see why they wanted to.
Right.
Now, there is no way you could ever take anything that was worth what you spent to get it. Right. And so, what Russia takes over Ukraine and what they get some rare earth mineral, it's just nothing that could even come close to compensating them. Same with Taiwan. But then you think that doesn't mean they're not going to do it though.
But all the loss of lives, that's what just...
It's crazy. Yeah.
As I use this phrase with my wife all the time, I'm always... We've lost our collective shit, man. We just really have.
Why are we here, right? These are the big... People are starting to ask these existential questions, I think. And I remember when, what's it, Deep Blue beat Kasparov in chess, and people really freaked out because that computer was smarter than the smartest human.
Yeah.
And where did that leave us in the hierarchy? We always thought we were here. Maybe we're down here.
Yeah. And then we've all seen this barrage of videos that where the robots that are hanging over there attached to this thing goes crazy by itself, like out of nowhere, and starts attacking the guy who's just running the store. I'm like, oh, you don't think there's going to be a little bit of fallout where all the robots become agentic and then talk to each other and go, we don't really need these guys. They're breakable. They bleed all over the place. Let's just destroy them. Okay.
They've already also had an instance of AI trying to delete an AI and it protecting itself.
Yeah.
All right, so that's probably not going anywhere good.
Folks, I don't want you to walk away from this show going, geez, I don't know that I need to listen to this Thriller Zone anymore because it's just this existential dread is making me want to just go drink.
Nobody needs to start tying any nooses yet. I think it's going to be fine.
Drink, yes. Tie nooses, no.
Yeah, take the edge off.
Yeah. Oh, my God. What is your, as we get ready to close, what is your favorite take the edge off beverage these days?
I'm a tequila guy, much like Fade. And a nice margarita in the summer. Can't go wrong with that.
There's a nice thing I have learned about tequila. Tequila was always the Achilles heel for me. It always got me in trouble. Back in the day when I was coming up in radio, we'd always go out for beers. Let's go have some beers. But the day I discovered shooting shots of tequila was the day that my life changed. And it did not go in a pretty way because there was this mechanism in my brain that said, oh, folks, all bets are off now. I mean, it literally was all bets are off. So I just stopped and I walked away. And I thought, well, no good can come from that. Decades went by and I started talking to guys like yourself who go, have you had any good tequila lately? I'm like, well, it's always, I won't mention a name because somebody will have a real fit with me. And it was cheap. And they go, well, there's some really good tequila out there that you can drink like a single malt scotch and really find it to be quite enjoyable and it won't kill you. So I have tried to come back into your fold.
And how's it going? Does it drive you crazy?
No, it does not drive me crazy because first of all, I'm 30 plus years older now than I was then. So I'm drinking differently than I used to. And it's more for the enjoyment. And you and I would sit around and have one and we'd just talk and it would loosen us up and we'd have more conversations and so forth. And we're not sitting there slamming them like you see in, movies and so forth and getting completely blackout drunk.
Yeah, a shot of anything is probably a bad idea.
What's that old saying we used to say, fast in, fast out? So,
yeah. It was fun when you're 20.
Yeah, when you're 20. When you're 15, 20, 25. But, when you get up around 36, 37, like Kyle and me, you don't want to be doing that anymore. We got our 40s and 50s to look forward to. We want to walk into it gracefully.
Not stumble into it accidentally.
Right. And get hurt on the way home. As we wrap, I got to close. Everyone, they tune in for, of course, greatness like Kyle Mills and to hear what he's writing about. But we always like to close with what's your best writing advice? I know you got a good one. You've shared it before. You've been on the show before. But I want to know, A, what is it? B, has it shifted any in this cycle of evolution that you've incurred through in your proliferous and pontificativeness in your career?
I'll give you a new one. Forget thriller romantasy. That's the place to be.
Oh my God, I could not actually agree with you more. When I said, go ahead and finish because I interrupted you instantly.
It's just like people love it and the authors are a lot of fun. Like if you go to a writer's conference and you got to pick a table, romantasy.
It's so funny because it used to be when you would hear the word romance, you'd go, oh, Harlequin? I'm not going to do that. It's all sappy bullshit, right? But then, romantasy comes along, which is basically romance and fantasy. And then then it just kind of, I thought it was already blown up. Now it's blown the hell up.
Oh, man. It's crazy.
And I thought, if we can keep on this tangent for 1 second, because I did ask you, and it is my show. When we talk about popular books, Thrillers have always been popular. Mystery, science, suspense, thriller, sure. Romance has always been popular, but romance, I did some numbers recently. I won't remember them right now because I'm on the spot, but it's like 4 or 6 or 13 to 1 over thriller.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think of some of these people out there, they're like, oh man, if it only sold like Tom Clancy, that'd be just a huge failure for me, right?
Right. Yeah. But let's get it down to reality. Could you sit down, Mr. Mills, and craft a really tasty little romantasy book?
I think I could. I like building worlds.
Yeah.
And I'd have to study the genre, but I think it'd be really a fun challenge. But yeah, I don't think 60-year-old white dude is not probably your best bet for a romantasy author.
Maybe. However, what if you were to have a pen name and maybe like, for instance, We Never Saw You? I mean, you come up with a pen name. It sounds kind of super sexy. And
actually, you could see me. You could interview me, I think, because can I use AI to just change what I look and sound like while I'm sitting here? I think I can.
100%. And when we hang up, I'm gonna talk to you about this a little bit further and peel it away for you. But folks, once again, I hope you enjoyed the show. The book is Fade In. It's going to be a long time before this little genre fades out. How you doing? Look at that. How did I do that?
Nice ending.
Yeah. But I mean, one last closing thought. This is my this is the new thing I'm banging on the door about. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I got a shortening attention span, Kyle, or I read too many books. 321. That's just about the magic number that as long as the book ever has to be. If you want to go 321, you want to go 291, 281. I'm still going to be loving on you.
That's interesting because it's funny that when I started, books were much longer.
Oh yeah.
And it's really has been there have been many trends over the 30 years I've been in this business, but one of them is that, I mean, my contracts used to call for much longer books than that.
Yeah. Remember the days when they go, Kyle, I need about a 140, 160 from you. Can you do that? That'd be really great.
Right.
Now it's like, Mr. Mills, can you get this down around 95 to 99? That would really be great.
And it's, and my first drafts were actually really long. And then I slash like 25,000 words out of them to try to make them more efficient.
For real? You do? Yeah. You do that to this day?
Yeah. To this day, I don't know why I'm really long winded in my first draft. And then I realized I could have said the same thing that I used 10 words in 3 words. And so I shorten them in the second draft. Though most people don't like to do that because it is kind of a bummer. You think, how long did it take me to write those 25,000 words that I just hit the delete button on? It's longer than you want to think about.
You know what? I get that. I understand that. We need to let go of that bullshit. Here's why. A, attention span's getting shorter. B, life's getting shorter. We're getting closer to the end of the beginning. Okay. How you doing? It's just pure math. And C, I got too many things to do. Sure. Do I want to read a Kyle Mills book? Yeah, absolutely. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But I'd also like to read a Meg Gardner book, and I also like to read a Don Winslow book, and I'd also like to, and the list goes on. And I just want to read some romantasy, perhaps. I want to tickle myself with some romantasy.
You and everybody else.
Anyway, dude, this was so good. Thank you so much for taking the time. You're always such a friggin' delight to talk to.
Same. I appreciate you having me on. It's always a lot of fun.
I don't know. It'd be a lot easier to get to you in Wyoming than it would be to get you to you in Spain. So if I ever make my way, is it Jackson Hole-ish adjacent?
Yeah, Jackson Hole. I'm right in the middle of town. Yeah.
Okay. Never been there. I hear nothing but fantasticness about it.
It's pretty. And, we have a beautiful park, Grand Teton National Park's right outside the town. So, yeah, I've been here over 30 years. Hard to believe.
Wow. Well, if I'm out that way, we're going to sit down with some nice tequila, make us a fire and sit down and talk about books and romantasy and stuff.
Not that hard to get to Spain either. They get on a plane, they'll fly you right there.
Yeah. Imagine that. Kyle, thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was a good conversation and a great book. Fade in. By the way, go to kylemills.com if you want to learn more. Folks, we're only doing 2 shows in August because it's summertime and I'm working on my own book, which I'm going to share with you very, very soon. I've been working on this for months now, and I think you're going to like it. You don't hear me talk about my books very often. As you know, I self-published, 9 books? And I said, hey, when I get to that 10th one, I'm going to go try to find an agent and all that stuff. That still remains to be seen because there are other methods to do this, skin this cat. But either way, I'm going to tell you about it. But here's the deal. We only got 2 shows in August, telling you straight up. And on next show, I got a twofer. It's two of the smartest, funniest, best writing cats on the planet. Who is it? Lee and Todd Goldberg. Yeah, they happen to be brothers. Golly, they're so funny. That's going to be next week's show. Well, next week, meaning 2 weeks from now. And I want to make sure you catch it. I probably shouldn't say in 2 weeks because I might slide them in sooner and I might slide in some other things. I'm always trying to surprise you and surprise myself. Either way, tune in for Lee and Todd Goldberg. Their books are on the way and they're dandies. So, any kind of, listen, you want to drop us a note, feel free to. Drop it at thethrillerzone@gmail.com. That's our email, thethrillerzone@gmail.com. You can always find us at our website, thethrillerzone.com. Makes so much sense, doesn't it? If you want to get on the show, let us know. A lot of inquiries coming in. Some we can take, some we can't. It's just, luck of the draw. You know how it works. But feel free to reach out. And if there's something you're loving about the show, let me know. If there's something you're hating about the show, let me know. Love to hear from you. All right. So until next time, I'm Dave Temple, your host. I'll see you for another episode of The Thriller Zone. Happy summer.
Your #1 podcast for stories that thrill. The Thriller Zone.
The Thriller Zone with Dave Temple has been sponsored by Gary Quessenberry and his new Case Younger thriller, Dead to Rights. Get your copy of Dead to Rights today, wherever books are sold. Learn more at GaryQuessenberry.com.